It's a beautiful day. I'm outside. Now, this video was inspired by a recent video from engineer Max Koshu. You should check out his channel. I'll leave a pointer or whatever in my description to his beautiful electronics blog. He recently got a very neat German decade resistance box, actually a couple of them, and did a little bit of a view of those. And wow, one of those was fantastic, the biggest one I've ever seen, I think 7 digits or something like that. Anyway, you know those things. They're the nice wood and Bakelite boxes with the knobs, and you basically can dial up a resistance, a precision resistance. These were popular back in the old days, like before 1950 or so, for lab measurements. And anyway, this guy here, this is another reason I'm making this video, is I'm unpacking the van because I have to pack it up for the New Jersey Antique Radio Club meet tomorrow in Parsippany. I will be there trying to get rid of stuff, and this was in there. It's part of a lot I bought at the last MIT flea market. Guy had a bunch of this old wood lab gear type stuff, electrical lab gear type stuff, and I bought a bunch of it because, hey, it's great stuff. Anyway, let's take a look at this guy. You can see, for one, it's got the cover. These things never have the covers. Let's take it off. This is a Gray Instruments Queen Potentiometer, model E-3040. And we can see inside the lid, there's a blueprint. Now, I think the plastic may not be original, and maybe, I don't know. But it's the Queen standard potentiometer. Show the circuit diagram there. And here we are. Pretty large item. And has very much the steampunk look, doesn't it? I haven't done any cleaning on it whatsoever, so there's still a little bit of dust that has to come off. But yeah, these things basically were used as precision potentiometers, precision resistances. Now, in the old days, turn of the century and such like that, you didn't have digital multimeters. In fact, even the standard meters, you didn't even have anything like a Simpson 260 with a standard multimeter or even a standard voltmeter. If you wanted to do really high precision measurements of electricity or current or something like that, you used a bridge. And students of electrical engineering will know what a bridge is. There's, of course, the Wheatstone Bridge and things like that. Basically, you compare and null out voltages or currents, and using a precision meter, galvanometer or something like that, you basically get everything down to zero and then figure out what you had to do to get it to zero. And part of that figuring out what you had to do is dialing up, getting a resistance value, and you would dial it up. You would use one of these things. You can see here it's a bunch of knobs with you can see extremely high quality, low resistance contacts. Look at the size of those things. You wanted to get absolutely sure that you got the value that the box said it was going to give. And you can see it's fairly low values here. We're talking, 0 to 1.7 is one set, and you'd add that to, looks like 0 to 0.1 or a little more maybe. And you even had a fine-tuning thing. You would use something called a standard cell, which was more or less a precision battery. The connection is up there. There are some binding posts in the back, some nice big binding posts. You can see this one still has the peg style contacts. These interesting things. Here's one of the pegs. These were used to basically short out certain parts of the circuit. And works like a taper pin. You cram it in there. Essentially shorts out those two contacts there. And you can see it has some numbers there. Like I just shorted out the 1 section. That's probably 1 ohm. If I took that out, that resistance would be in series. and you can kind of see what they mean. You know, we have resistances here, and if you stick a peg in, if you stick a peg in that hole there, it'll essentially take that 500 ohms out. No peg, you get the 500 ohms. And it was kind of a interesting turn of the century way of doing things that kind of died out. Anyway, let's take a look inside. Pardon me. We'll flip it around. All right. Take a look at that. That is some high quality stuff. Nice copper bus bars, square, all nice and precision bent wire wound resistances. We can see some Yaxley pots there. You see those in 1920s gear. Now I'm going to say this one, I should say that the Gray Instrument Company was sort of the final form of the James Queen Company. And James Queen, Philadelphia, of course, where all the good instrument makers were, they made a lot of stuff from the mid-1800s. Optical gear, physics gear. They got into electrical gear. And by the very early 20s, they had changed hands a little bit. I think the owner may have died. James Queen may have died. And Gray took it over and turned into the Gray Instrument Company. And interesting, this is called the Queen Potentiometer, the model E-3040 Queen Potentiometer. So this was probably a fairly iconic set for the James Queen Company. So hey, Gray decided, you know what, we're going to keep the name. And this thing, clearly 1920s. I think this was made shortly after the name changed to Gray, simply because, well, this does not say, it does say Queen on it, but it also says Gray Instrument Company. And also, well, if you look at these pots, those are clearly mid-20s Yaxley pots. And, you know, body end dot type resistance here, which, yeah, by the 30s, those were kind of going away. Now, I don't know how long these things were made, but I certainly, looking online, you can see a picture of one that's much later construction, because it's got a knife switch. It got rid of the pegboard type system, has a knife switch, and the knobs are this style of knobs. And this style of knob is straight out of the 1930s and even the 40s. So this, I believe, is early 1920s, maybe up to the late 20s, simply due to the parts involved. So yeah, basically you can see what's going on. There's this old stuff, this old lab gear. You open it up and you can tell exactly what it does. There's no fine circuit board traces. There's no black boxes. You can see where everything's going with this nice big square bus bar here. Let's flip it around again. There we go. I do have the original screws, but I decided to take them out because no one wants to watch someone unscrew stuff. So yeah, that's it. You can see some of the switches. Standard cell or EMF voltage, and yeah, it's you'd hook up your standard cell, you dial stuff in, compare it against your unknown, see what you just dialed in, and you might have to do a few calculations, but that's how you did measurements, lab grade measurements, back in well, almost 100 years ago. Okay, well, hope you like this video. I did buy some other stuff, some Leeds and Northrop equipment, some old GE stuff, because, oh, I love this wood and Bakelite and brass stuff. Oh, it looks so cool. And like I said, the guy, everything he had lids. So, very well kept care of these things very well, because the lids, they always go missing. So, hey, Leave a like if you want. Maybe subscribe. It's not always about tubes here. This is a little bit pre-tube era, although this particular one, yeah, in the early 20s, you'd be dealing with things like 201s and things like that. But yeah, lab grade instrument from the early 20s. Gray Instruments model E-3040, the Queen. All right, talk to you later. Bye now.